Good morning, folks. What's going on? Another episode of Applied Intelligence with Perry Douglas. As you know, folks, it's I try to look for interesting people to have conversations with, and also, very diverse. Today it's going to be a lot about AI and what's happening in that particular market, but tomorrow it can be on something else. I've gone from religion to whatever. The whole point of this show is, to showcase a method of thinking which is applied intelligence, and we want to apply our intelligence to any particular topic that we are get into. So today we have Ed Henry, and Ed, it's Ed Henry Economics, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So, Ed, I have some, hold on a second, folks. Remember, please subscribe. I need people to subscribe because if you want to hear more applied intelligence conversations and good conversations away from all the, bullshit noise that's out there, we need more subscribers in order to, get some momentum and get some good hosts on the show. So, I ask you kindly to subscribe to Applied Intelligence with Perry Douglas. So, Ed, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Talk about yourself, whatever you want to do. This show is open. But one of the topics of the day that I want to definitely get into is what's going on, or I want your view of what's happened last few days with deep six with deep seek. I'm thinking 6 AI. Anyway, so Ed, go ahead, man. Let's hear what you got to say, buddy.
Perry, thank you for having me on. Well, let's get into some of the craziness. I'd like to talk about what's happening out there in the world of AI.
Sure. Okay.
Before we can get talking about economics and exciting things we're doing there, I think it's great to shed light on some of the things that are being said because there's
100%.
a lot of confusion, I guess you could say.
100%.
First of all, let's talk about the big one, DeepSeek.
Yep.
Before that, we were talking about AGI. There's been something every day almost, but this one, I like it, and I think it's BS in one space for one reason. And I'll tell you what I like. It's put the focus on AI green.
Yeah.
Right? We don't need, it's put the focus on that. We can build AI smarter. What they've really done is they just created smart automation. They found a way, they really just, they're doing intelligent machine learning, and they're focusing on data sets in a way that make retraining. And it's just a different manufactured AI process. It's still not intelligence. It's very narrow, right? It's great. It's great. It's great achievement. But it gets everybody focusing off, let's get off the chips and let's start making smarter, more efficient cost, and making AI so that the smaller businesses can get into, because this is just another model for big business. This is done nothing for small business or even medium-sized businesses. So have no real-time intelligence. It's still static. It's not adaptable. It's self-learning in one box. You're not even self-learning. It's automation in one box, but very intelligently done.
Yep. I agree. 100%. And the thing about it, right? Really, what you're saying is correct. Because at the end of the day, the only real thing that changes is the proof that you don't need to spend like those knuckleheads, Donald Trump and the oligarchs, last billionaire guys, Musk and all that in the White House, announcing $500 billion to build, this infrastructure. So really, what it's just showing is just, showing the scam, I like to call, that you don't need to spend all this crazy money, for an open source engine, right? At the end of the day. And what's important, I think, for people to understand, they're just doing this, as they're just doing this at a fraction of the cost. That's really the only change, really, that's happening. I don't know if you would agree with that. That's fundamentally what I see.
I do agree with. I think there's a lot. I think first of all, the media, when it comes to AI, the greatest portion of the media does not understand AI to begin
Correct.
with.
Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. You're so right. And that the media have been they're dumb as hell, and they've been part of the problem, and whether it's the internet bubble or whatnot, because these reporters don't know anything, and they're gaga goo goo to sit in front. I saw one guy at Davos last week sitting in front of Mark Bittenoff from Salesforce. It's like asking the dumbest questions, but just because he's in the room with him. So yeah, sorry, continue, but that's a very good point.
No, because if you look at what intelligence is as a whole, right? I mean, in order to achieve any of the markers that anybody is saying, we first have to get beyond this linear approach to AI. Everybody's approaching linear, this in a linear, narrow approach. Almost like I said, we had a discussion before. If you read every book in the library, you're not going to get smarter.
That's right.
Right. But if you apply an intelligence to every book in the library, now that's different. And that's what,
Yes.
and so when everybody stops looking at AI from the front end in the linear way and start looking at AI from a multi-dimensional approach from the back end, then we will I guess get rid of a lot of those nuances. A lot of people don't understand that the goal here is to replicate an ecosystem if you want to achieve what real intelligence is.
Yep. I'm just taking, you just gave me a good nugget here. So, um, so I'm going to just take some notes, because for one of the things I like to do is I like to learn from people, right? One thing I do know, I haven't cornered the market on great ideas and yet, so I'm always in search. So I just took some time to write that down. No, I think you're right. And I think one of the things I want you to comment on too, right, is the way I see it. When OpenAI, for example, started, it was supposed to be a nonprofit, blah, 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 open source, all of that, so developers can use it and build off that. So essentially, what OpenAI is a commodity, right? It's a flipping commodity. And what DeepSeek has just done is just, put more supply into the market at a fraction of the cost, which will essentially bring down prices. And when you do the math, I wrote an article the other day. When you do the math, right? Um, I think there was about how many billions of dollars, or actually, yeah, billions of dollars, in OpenAI infrastructure spend. They're always raising money, right? But the revenue is like 5 billion. But the spend is moving close to 1 trillion. So if you do the math on that, and when the Microsoft CFO said they don't see any profitability in open AI for at least 15 years. So when you hear those things, what do you say? What do you say to that? Because what you hear and what is actually happening could be two different things, right?
Well, if you look at every kind of market that we dealt, if you look at all of the disturbances in market when the public had to re-educate themselves, what they're missing about AI is that this is always in transformation.
Yes.
So your predictability is over the next day. Like whatever you're thinking,
Yeah.
like we're seeing it already. We've seen too many things, right?
Yeah.
The goal that everybody is trying to establish here is artificial intelligence, not better automation.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
and we're in a society where we haven't even, we're talking about automation, but we haven't even defined what automation is or what autonomy
Correct.
really is. So
Correct.
so we're really playing with a whole lot of things we don't even understand yet. There's a lot of what they call opacity in AI
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So what I really believe at the end of the day is AI is moving faster than us, but we think we understand it when we don't.
We don't. Correct. Correct. And what you just said there, two MIT professors wrote a book. Actually, I have it in my bookshelf. It's Power and Progress, right? My two MIT guys. And Power and Progress evaluates the last 1,000 years of technology automation, right? So really, their argument is AI is just another level of automation, okay? But what they come down to, their thesis is based on the evidence of the last 1,000 years. all technologies that are long-term sustainable, right? It's the consumer that decides how they want to use it. Okay.
Correct.
We have now guys like I call snake oil salesmen, guys like Sam Altman telling us how we must alter society to fit his technology, right? So I think what you're saying is that, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. What I think what you're saying is that, we need automation technology to help us, but we are almost with a brute force trying to push AI down, quote unquote, AI down our throats, where we haven't even defined it or we don't even know what the heck is going on here. And
Correct.
this is where you see one day DeepSeek comes out and everybody was like believing, hey, you need $500 billion, and you go to the White House with Donald Trump and $500 billion. Chinese guys will say, yo, what's up? We could do this for six. You know what I mean? That if that little thing could change so much, I mean, I think you're right. Like we don't really understand what's going on.
No, computation is not the key to intelligence. That's first thing.
Yep.
That is the biggest mistake that we've been making. Computation
Yep.
is not the key to intelligence. Intelligence itself is how do you train a machine the same way you would train a human? Well, first of all, it's not a human. So you have to give it certain understandings of a human. You have to help it understand cognitive mitigation, hallucination mitigation, looking for the truth. You have to teach it those things in layers. They almost have, those roles have to be interconnected because that's how a human would correlate and relate information. Every human thinks in multi-dimensions. They may only comprehend in 3
Correct.
dimensions,
Correct.
but they think
Multi-dimensions.
in 7, 8, 9, 10 dimensions.
Correct. 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 A lot. So listen, I'm a big mathematics and philosophy guy, right? And I go through history and I look at all the great thinkers from Aristotle, Immanuel Kant, Rene Descartes, Bertrand Russell. Nietzsche was there too, but Nietzsche, he's a little bit, and a lot of what you're saying goes back to what those philosophers have said in terms of first, how do you define intelligence? Because we're having a conversation right now, and multiple things are happening in my mind. Okay, I'm thinking about the next question to ask. I'm computing what Ed is saying. Is what Ed's saying making sense? I'm looking at the snow outside. When am I gonna get that shoveled? You know what I mean? Multiple things in the human's mind, and that's how humans think. With AI, it's almost this brute force, a one-dimensional function, right? That you can, and I love what you said. It's not human. So it can't be human. It can't think like a human. So what you have to do, okay, what you have to do is figure out the best way to use that technology. Is like calculus. It's never exact per se, but it's good enough, right? And that's where you want to get to. So what I would ask you, right, is you define what intelligence is or what you think it is. And then what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to start talking about a lot of the great stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. Look, like anybody else, we started this in a world of sales and learning management system integration, trying to make it fluid, interconnected. But in doing that, we had to make it universal because there's more than one business. But making it universal, we made it universal.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so we realized and we had to look at what does a human do? Well, we had to use the same thing as a human do, what all complex organisms do. They have one way of approaching all problems. They have
Yep.
one set of rules, like one applied intelligence for all things. It doesn't matter what threat it is. It doesn't matter what opportunity is.
Yep.
It's using the same set of rules to apply for problem solving, decision making, no matter what it is, to address all things.
Mhm.
Now, in order to approach that from an intelligence point of view, your brain works with the same 5-to-1 output as all other complex organisms.
Yep.
It literally it becomes overwhelmed with cognitive distortion like all other organisms. If you throw too much at it and it can't break it apart, it has to have the tools to be able to operate in a certain type of framework where it can actually not be overwhelmed, just like a human being. So if you actually break out the cognitive mapping and you really start to understand how to distribute the intelligence in layers, well, then you give the machine the ability to comprehend it the same way that a human would break down the information.
Yep. Yep. I agree. So let me ask you, yeah, like I said, I want to really get to your stuff, but I think we are getting to your stuff with this conversation. So what's your view on AGI? For those who may not know,
AGI,
artificial general intelligence.
yeah, that's going to be, I don't know if we're ever going to reach what we vision as AGI, because remember, we've never seen AGI. It's
Correct. 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 Correct.
it's a movie thing to us in some
It's a science fiction movie. That's what it is.
right. But if there ever was, it's still controllable. And the reason why is because it's like if you created intelligence to be of a certain intelligence, then it's going to be like no different than a human being. It isn't going to switch its thinking one day and start turning on man. It doesn't even have an interest to want to protect the planet.
Yes.
It has no desires, no wants. It's not going to look at my wife one day from across the field and think, I want that lady. Instead,
Yeah.
I'm going to find a way to get rid of the husband. None of these things are happening in AI.
Yep. No. I hear you. And one of the things is that people just come up with these nonsense theories and people buy into it. So I think really what you're saying here is that AGI basically is supposed to be the same or surpass human intelligence. But I think your common denominator that you put forward in the beginning, it's not human, so it can't be. Okay? And that's it, right? No, go ahead. No, yeah.
No. And even what we looked at, like, I mean, we've been looking at, you hear everything, everybody's trying to understand how supercomputing and quantum intelligence and what is superposition, and everybody's become, it's almost like, I remember when the pandemic started, I couldn't pronounce epidemiologist, but now everybody.
You're same here, buddy. Same here.
But everybody's reading the geek stuff, right? Everybody's excited about it, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of these things are never, there's a lot of things we're not going to see in our lifetime. And I think we'll see replication. AI is a key to replication in a lot of matters that can do things like cure diseases. It can
absolutely
energy. It can do all these things. These are the positive things we need to focus on.
Yeah. So that's what, this is a good segue because this is really what I want to do. I want to separate AI and all the things AI can do in terms of human in the medical field, like flying an airplane, whatever, in manufacturing, or it's vast, right? Bioengineering or whatever. So I want to separate that from, I think, a lot of stuff that you're trying to do, because I think your background comes from the Sales Institute or whatnot. So the problem that now I want to separate that AI from generative AI, right? Which is really what ChatGPT and everything is. And I say for us, my company, 6AI Technologies, we are not, there's two ways to look at AI, right? You could, AI, sort of what OpenAI, ChatGPT is looking to replace humans, thinking it's better than humans. But for us, what we're looking at is more of a human-centric approach.
Correct.
Okay, how to work with humans as a piece of, augmenting or amplifying technology to help boost human ingenuity, human innovation, creativity. And if you can do that for the person working in the organization, in whatever function they are, if they can use a piece of technology for that, that increases their value as a human, but it also increases the value of the firm, right?
Well,
so let me just get some views on that relative to what you're doing.
That's where AI has to step up overall. If they don't understand the partner-centric rules to human-centric,
Yes.
then there is no relationship. There's no connection. There's not even a way of understanding what AI is supposed to do and what I'm supposed to do with AI. How does it make me better? How is AI making me better? And those things are what has to be realized in order to create that relationship.
Yeah. No, it's good. And one of the things that we're working on, and as you know, we have a partnership with McGill University, my alma mater, where I went to, a couple of my kids too. Just giving that shout out. But one of the things we're doing with the Datasphere Lab, right, and one of the great things I like about it is that you're working with young people, right, in post-secondary programs and stuff like that, is that their minds are still open.
Mhm.
Okay, they're not employed by OpenAI where now their minds are closed and it's like the new religion, right? So working with young people, their minds are open. And one of the things we're ultimately focusing on, I think you're doing the same thing too, or similar, is how do we use technology in a very human-centric way in order to increase the value of the human, which effectively increases the value of the team, which effectively increases the value of the organization. And that's for us what our focus on. So I don't know what you're doing, if that's your focus too, or just kind of tell me a little bit, give me the pitch for what you guys are doing out there.
No, of course, we did a lot of time focusing on cognitive mitigation, but more importantly, how that plays a role in, or bias mitigation, how that plays a role into
Mm,
adoption.
yes.
Uh, and we did a lot of study in this space to the point where we realized that whatever language comes from that AI model or assistant has to be not only mitigated the right way, it has to be. We have to look at the complexity. We have to
Hmm.
look whether we're distributing, whether that information likes to be received, whether it's micro or macro.
Hmm.
Uh, we have to be able to. We can't assume the competency of the partner or the user. We have to find a way to match with that quickly. So
Hmm.
teaching the model how to really understand the learner, the user, and how to correspond with them, that kind of contextual awareness is extremely difficult. That's something that we spent a lot of time on.
Yeah.
And then of course also is how do you really create a fractal on that business or on that person so that you can mirror, you can actually be the other part of that partnership. You understand the role-based scenario.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Definitely understand. So if I would just make a few comments here and see what you have to say about it. So really, the word partnership, I think, is very important because the whole you still need a human, okay? Because AI doesn't know the world, right? So there's, Immanuel Kant said in his Critique of Reason, we learn two ways. A priori, we already know, right? We already know this. You don't got to tell us. Where it's instinct, right? And then empirical observation, right? So these are, you learn from learning, essentially an observation. So this is how a human knows meaning, and a human understands the universe, and a human understands the world, right? But a machine doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't know the world. So trying to replace the human, in my opinion, I'm a plain spoken guy, it's pretty stupid, right? And I think this is sort of what OpenAI is trying to do. So this partnership between the human, okay, and the machine, and what you've said, where the machine now, okay, tries to tease out answers from the human. One of the things that we're doing in our with our IP is employing empathy into the machine. Now, the machine doesn't have empathy, but we're being honest, the appearance of empathy with the machine will allow for better understanding where the machine where the human will give the machine more, because you can learn a lot from the human, particularly if you're in an organization, you're the subject matter, you're the expert, right? And meaning. And what you said, what you also said earlier, contextualization, extraordinarily important. If a machine may not know or does not know contextualization in a natural form of learning, right? So would you agree or disagree or change it up a bit that there has to be a partnership with between the human and the machine, which can create the optimal output for value creation in an organization.
100%. It almost has to understand an entire cognitive mapping. It has to understand how um, cognitive speeds
Yep.
um, are what affect
Yep.
bias. of how
Yep.
someone sees something. In other
Yep.
words, I'm alarmed. It's a big thing to me. I'm missing a lot of things because I'm only seeing what I see. Because one of the things you
Yep.
said were very important was to see it like a human. Well, see, a human sees it with bias, and that's our
Yes.
mistake,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
right? That's what makes us a mistake. We don't want the machine to be like a human,
Exactly.
right? We don't
Exactly.
want it to have cognitive bias. We don't want it to be cognitively overwhelmed. We want it to be able to meta think and to be able to see all that in a nothing but a quantifiable math.
Yep. No, I agree. And that's super important because what you're saying there goes against, the Star Chamber guys, where we're trying to get the machine to be like the human. That doesn't make any friggin' sense,
Well,
right?
you want to be smarter than a human, but trusted, so that it can empower you. You don't want it to
Empower.
be doing it for you. You want it to empower you. You want to be
Yep.
able to think of how many ways I could do things better or faster with this, rather than, and it changes my thinking and the way that I do things.
Yep.
AI has the ability to empower people if if they choose to trust it and partner with it. That's a
Yep.
very double.
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
very right.
Yep. No, you know what? And thank you for plugging our company because you use the word empower. And if you go to our website, 6ai.com, you will see um, empowering strategy for human progress. That word empowering is the difference, and I think which is what you're trying to do also. So, maybe expand on that a little bit relative to the stuff you're pumping out.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't. It's kind of funny when I look at this. Um, I think about how we learn, right? And I think about how the machine learns. Like we try to learn in a dimensional, almost swimming upstream sort of way, very difficult. And when we find it flowing for us, we never understand why it seems easy, right? Learning is fun when it flows,
Yes, yes,
right? But the machine learns in rotations,
yes, yep,
right? And it adds layers to it, just like a human, if you do it properly, if you teach it that way. So one of the things that we really focused on was how do we teach, how does the machine actually empower and teach somebody its processes? It really gets them to think of solutions beyond linear dimensions.
hmm 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 yep.
It
No,
changes
I hear
their
you.
capacity all the way around.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. So, you know, I don't know if I want to say a follower, but I definitely believe in a lot of, I don't know if you've ever heard of Gary Marcus. I think he's one of the smartest guys around, and he's a cognitive scientist. So I think he's a professor, professor emeritus at anyways, but he's sold two AI companies. So he's one of the OGs in the space, and he's one of the guys who continue to needle Sam Altman all the time, and actually Altman responds to him. And one of the things he says, and also another guy I listen to is Noam Chomsky. MIT's like 91 or 90 whatever, and he's still brilliant. But a lot of these guys, kind of say a little bit of what you're saying is that we don't we talk about AI, but we don't, or let's say generative AI, but we don't like it's like we're misusing it. We're not optimally using the damn thing. We're just doing stupid stuff with it, right? So we need to stop listening to these, you know, the new, what I call the new tech aristocracy, okay, and their VC, courtiers, right? And just think for ourselves. So I think what I'm seeing you doing is you're thinking, and this is one of the big things about applied intelligence, right? We believe in thinking for yourself because it is not true that these guys, because they're in the industry, have all the answers. They're great marketers, okay, to sell you more stuff, but I think we're just misusing, the technology. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? I think big tech and big business has really cornered themselves, and I'm going to tell you
Mhm.
why.
Okay. Okay.
Because this big data LLM push, even using Gemini, trying to use Gemini even in its own backend for troubleshooting, it will tell you it's a large language model. It's basically using. It will tell you these words. I mean, it will say it
Yes.
just like that almost.
It is useless. Yeah.
So when I look at what big tech's doing, there's a lot of guys like you and I that are focused on adaptive intelligence. That's very important
Yes. Yes.
because that's where they're not focusing.
Yes.
And that's what small businesses and medium-sized businesses need. They need
Absolutely.
real time, not static. They need
Absolutely.
real time, something that can learn their business, make it easier for them, something that, and the moment that someone comes up with plug and play technology that can easily assess the business and understand it for its utilization the way it is, there's the game changer to everybody.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, sorry, you're plugging 6AI. So folks, this is not it wasn't rehearsed or anything, but no. And one of our things is we had a conversation with a VC the other day, and they're like, they like what we're doing, and they're talking about, wow, in the consultant space. So the big consultant space is a $900 billion business. I'm talking about, the McKinseys of the world. But we're like, no, we see the great opportunity is in what you said, Ed. This small and medium sized enterprises, organizations, not normal organizations, even down to students, right? Because all the small so because the problem the issue is these small and medium sized businesses don't have hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to give a friggin' consultant like McKinsey to give you a PowerPoint presentation and give you a first year graduate out of university coming into your company and telling you things you already know, and they have no experience, right? So that's out of range. So what you're saying and what we're saying and doing is that we're making our products accessible, okay, to the small and medium sized organizations at a subscription, a very affordable subscription rate, and away you go. So you may have a little bit of difference in what you're doing, but I think we're saying the same thing. You creating something unique of value that anybody can use, any small business owner or whatnot, that doesn't have millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to spend on consultants, or even you know even to get something from OpenAI, which is going to cost them at least 100K anyways, right? Nobody, and the adoption of ChatGPT in the enterprise has not even happened yet. I read something the other day, which I put into an article of mine. It hasn't even gotten to 5% in terms of adoption of major. So with all this spend and all this hype and hoopla, like you're not even 5% into the Fortune 500s. So what the hell's going on, Ed?
Well, look, I think it's a great time, like I said, small business, and I'll tell you why. If you try to implement even the smartest AI into the biggest company, the time that it takes to understand the role-based permissions in each department, who has access to what, who does what, to learn the what I call the organizational fractal, the pattern.
Yep.
Now, you do this in a smaller business that's about
Yep.
1/20th of the size. You're able to get deeper and granular in that intelligence beyond where they ever will. And your flexibility of being that size business gives you an advantage that the big business can't even compete with. You're working with intelligence this much faster. People
Yep.
don't realize where this is transitioning to, but this is a beautiful opportunity for small, medium-sized businesses to get ahead of the
Absolutely.
game with the right companies.
Yep.
They will get to adaptive real-time intelligence faster than
Yes.
bigger companies.
100%. So I think, great point, because I really believe that they will be able to have something which is better than whatever the big consultants can offer them, or whatever that, you could pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for where, what we're saying is that it's not that it's cheaper, or it's not that it's actually better, and kind of levels the playing field And it's more precise because it's really specifically for their particular use and multi-domains or whatnot. So on that point, one of your things here I have here is fractal problem solving. So let's we don't want to get too nerdy here, okay?
No,
My
no.
kids are always accusing me of being a nerd. We don't understand you, Dad. But let's talk about fractal problem solving.
Well, we created something called Tesseract technology. It's the core of our fractal design. It's really how it identifies other fractals. And when I say fractals, the ones that we're looking for are ones that are complex designs, organisms, whether it's physics, chemistry, biology, the cosmos,
Hmm.
our brain, our
Hmm.
body.
Hmm.
The one thing that has been able to do is we've been able to at least identify, and this is an argument because I hate stats. We say 97%, it can be 95.
Of course,
This
yeah, yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So being real and honest about it. But what we have done is we've been able to identify, and we started creating what is called a fractal library,
Okay.
which is identifying the behaviors of all fractals. So therefore, we could do the kind of things that you said are important.
Hmm. Hmm.
Replication. Can
Hmm.
I replicate nanomedicine? Can I replicate personalized
Hmm.
nanomedicine that is safe? There,
Hmm.
one of the things that we're learning from AI is that there is so much on the planet
Yep.
that we've had narrow scopes on how we have managed our innovation.
Yep. Yep. Makes
So
sense.
AI, yeah,
No, no, go
AI is
ahead. Go ahead. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying AI is opening that door. It's showing where we can replicate so many things in advance, whether it's sustainable energy or safe personalized medicine, or even getting rid of radiation for taking 3 and 4D pictures.
Yep. No, 100%. And the next thing I wanted to see here, what you have is harmonic intelligence. That sounds kind of cool. So, could you describe that for me, please?
Well, it's another thing when we call emulating an ecosystem, right? So it understands that it's breaking up information, all information into 3 cores. That
Mm.
when we call that when we say tesseract, the very first we broke it in. We call it the full cube, right?
Mm.
We don't believe in data exhaustion. We think by filling up the cube, it transcends. It's actually how we explain it.
Mm.
Um, that's how it's able to scale and it's able to be interconnected with that information. We actually have, if you go to even EchoSense right now, it is right now on GPT, it will tell you it is real time, it's
Mm.
self-learning, it's
Mm.
adaptive, it's not static.
Mm.
Every other model on the internet right now is static.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So and we have this in about 4 different AI models. So we find we're getting very close to that space where we can even start breaking into the sciences shortly.
So let me ask you, where do you see yourself, your organization in the next 5 years? Where do you, or so what's your vision? What's your plan to get your product out there in the market? What's your plan? Well, you don't have to give me your your strategy or whatnot, but like how does Ed see the future and how does he see his business positioned in the future?
Yes, it's a good question. We are looking at business intelligence spaces for complex B2B environments. We have strong decision making tools that are real time. They're adaptive. They are layered.
Hmm.
Uh, they are easily in 7 dimensions.
Hmm.
I'll say 4 to 7 dimensions, depending on the complexity
Hmm.
of the problem,
Hmm.
but always in 4 dimensions or greater.
Hmm.
And even nanomedicine is usually in the 4 to 6 dimension range, right? So
Hmm.
we've broken all this out in a way that we feel that we can also probably offer that real Jarvis like
Yep.
uh, personal assistant that kind of really
Yep.
is for you, right?
Yep.
Members contextualize, can
Yep.
relate to you, is helping you.
Yep.
And, we think our fine tune assist
Hmm.
model
Yeah.
for that assistant is really
Hmm.
key because we're designing it to teach you how to use AI.
So good. So that leads me to a question here. Is our AI agents, right? Part of the future, you think, and what is your overall assessment of AI agents?
I don't like AI agents in a way of replacing. I like AI assistants.
Absolutely, we're on the same side. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. So listen, we're coming up on the time. We try to keep it short because you know how it is with with attention spans, right? So I like to just stick to good content, and I think you've given people You've given people enough. So where can they find you? Take a minute or 30 seconds, whatever you want, and sell yourself, right?
You can find us at economics.com. Let me spell it right. Let me say like a Canadian, economics. EHCOnomics.com. Economics. Let's say it that way.
Economics. That sounds like an East Coast Canadian East Coast accent happening there. So that's the real Canadian saying.
We're live from Sydney. We're live from Sydney, Nova Scotia today. So we're on the East Coast.
Absolutely. Shout out to Sydney, Nova Scotia. I
Cousins
have
here.
family, yeah, family in my Scotians. People know that Scotians, side of my family, but we love them anyways. No, I'm just kidding.
You got great family.
Um, what's that?
You got great family here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Great people. But listen, Ed, listen, I thank you for your insight. We're on the same wavelength. I don't look for people who think like me. That's not why you're on the show. I actually, prefer people who, have a different view of thinking, because that's how learning happens. But I think you got a lot of good insight. You got a lot of good stuff going on. You got a very experienced background. You've been in this, sales or whatever, for like 30 years. So I thank you for your time. And again, while I close this show out, we thank Ed for spending some time with us this morning. But again, folks, again, please subscribe to Applied Intelligence. And again, we really are looking for people who can independently think. And, we want to look for topics where we can apply our intelligence to those specific topics and see what we can learn, and how we better ourselves. And this is really one of the key aspects, or the key objective of this show. How can we learn from others and get better? So this is the whole thing about applied intelligence. And again, for the last time, I was told to say this more and more. So please subscribe. And Ed, if you're using this video for your marketing purpose or whatnot, please ask people to subscribe to it. And we're looking to have you back if you have something that you want to talk about. If you have a piece of technology that you want to talk about, just give me a shout, send me a quick note, and we can get on, and we can do another show.
Terry, thank you for having me on today. Thank you.
No, 100%. So, folks, Ed, we'll talk to you later. And folks, like I say, applied intelligence out. Later.